Well. I'm about ready to get this puppy started here. I think this is, this whole sequence here for this Metropolis movie. This is where it's at, man. This is where it's at. Love it. Alrighty, so with that, I will switch us on over to the other side of possibly. Oh, I adjusted all of these cameras, but not this one. One thing I find is things shift and shamble in your settings. You just got to change things up and mix things up. Matter of fact, before the show, I was late, although I wasn't late in the end, but I was late in terms of readiness. I did manage to catch up, I guess you could say, but I was spending all this time. I've gone through the show and I've tweaked the scenes, so to speak. Well, no, literally, not so to speak, literally tweaked the scenes. And then I realized it was 2 minutes until needed to hit that go live button, and I wasn't even dressed. And then I had to get dressed while the song was playing, but I did it. I pulled it off, folks. You know why I did it? I did it for you, the people. By the way, it's just his name is just the Wolf Pit, and he does food reviews. A lot of times he'll go to dollar stores and he'll get meals there, frozen meals, and read them all. He's awesome, but he has this whole "you the people" thing, and it's like that whole vibe. His whole vibe is what I'm all about. I told you, the Wolf Pit is pretty much the father of the show, and I stand by it. There's other influences, but the Wolf Pit is the dad. One day I was looking at Wolf Pit, I was like, somewhere there's a Freeqo that is the version of him in the news, and that's me. I am Freeqo. All right. And with that, let's get this show started. We're going to get ready for the first part of the show, which actually, okay, now I can say I'm officially behind because I don't have it actually ready to go. And that's sad. And that is all on me. I blame me, the person. Not you, the people, me, the person, for all of this. But I'm getting it prepped up here real quick here so that we can go through me typing while I don't do anything, because that's what you do when you're not ready. All right, now this is not the official. Like I said, this is the way it's always going to be. Like for the live stream, there's this. This isn't the real start. I'll do stuff like this. This is the way it is. When I let you know it's the official part of the show, then we swing it. All right. So everybody, just cool your jets. I know there's a lot of people that are watching right now. Nobody's watching, and I know how it is. I know how it is, brothers and sisters and days and all of humanity. And you know what? Even if, dogs are people too. I'm just going to say it. So I'm going to say doganity, which is dogs and humans, because they're in the same class. So that's clear. Everybody agrees to that, of course. Not cats. No, not cats. I mean, I love cats. I'll take good care of them, but cats, no. They ain't in that category. So let's get to the start of the show. We're going to talk about first off, we're going to talk about our sources. Our sources. This show is brought to you by our sources, which is all me. The hour and the we. Whenever I say that, that's only me. Maybe someday there will be an hour and a we to Freeqo, but right now Freeqo is all me, from top to bottom, stem to stern, the graphic designs, everything. All of it's Freeqo's fault. So Freeqo.com, not freaking out about the news for you, the people. That's where you find everything. Like you get the video replays of the shows from the day before show up here, and the show notes and what we're going to be talking about. Oh, that's already on the site. It starts to appear about 5 o'clock p.m., somewhere around there, between 5 and 8 or to 10, maybe as late as 10 p.m. The content appears that I use on the show the next day. So you can get a head start on what I'm going to talk about and see like where I'm going to go with it. Or you can just wait till the show comes on and do it there. But the content comes from news that I sort on these 3 sites. So News Alike, this is your glitter glam kind of stuff, and get their These are just links from other sites. It's just a news aggregate, link aggregate site, basically. Same thing with Obamacare.tv, but Obamacare.tv, see that? Free market socially engineering for the masses. That's what it tracks, essentially. So, in not obvious, it's just tracking what all these folks are doing with all the billions and billions, and that where do these people put their money? What are they doing? What are they talking about? What are they, get to know them. Get to know the people that basically made most of the beliefs that you have. You should get to know these people because they're kind of important. And then there's Pioneering News. That's tech, science, underground news links. This is my favorite. And I take them all and I pick for me what are the 14, not the 14 best stories, not the 14 most important stories, but the 14 stories in their aggregate allow me to sing a song. And that's what I do every day. Freeqo, I'm not freaking out about news for you, the people. And I'm basically using news to sing the song that I want to sing. So, it's part art, it's part news, it's part philosophical mumbo jumbo. It's part accidental, spilled something hot on my lap, whatever. It's all that, So now we're going to actually begin the show. So let's get ready to begin the actual show. To do that, though, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part that's very, very, very important. Everybody brace yourselves, because you all need this. Y'all need this.
Warning, the material you're about to use does to inform the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we met. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
Yep, that's the plan. That is the plan, ladies and gentlemen. I feel pretty good about today. I feel like, I've got an optimistic heart this morning. I'm feeling, I don't have a terrible migraine. I don't have high physical pain today. I'm relatively chill and relaxed. So I feel like today there's a really good chance that I will not freak out while I talk about the news. And I'm going to do that, remember, for you, the people. So today on Freeqo Talks the News, Freeqo Talks the News for Thursday, April 9th, 2020. Man. That was, I wondered, should I leave that there? But I'm going to just do it. Woke corpse with captive workers. And by corpse, I mean corporations. I didn't want to say corporations. It just would have ruined the flow that I was going for. Woke corpse with captive workers. Coronaville detente for Z and the Donald. Machine learning your way to drug overdose news. Not pondering, deliberating on the code. A public school song. That's going to be our news poem of the day if you haven't figured that one out. Black America gets a sober dose of Coronaville. Don't fear your AI interviewer. Fear the one who paid to have it programmed. That's going to be the last story. That's the dialectical for the day. Let's get ready for... I should read these things. When I put them here intentionally for you to see and for me to be plugged, because I'm not a really good promoter, but I'm going to do my best here. Get the Freeqo Talks Daily delivered to your email at freeqo.com/daily. That's freeqo.com/daily. So you get all of this stuff sent to you. You'll get the notes sent to you the day before, and then the next day. You'll get 2 emails is what you'll end up getting. I'm not doing this yet, but once I start getting actual people on the email list, this is when I'm going to start it. And it'll be basically 2 dailies. It'll be first you get the notes, and then you're going to get all the videos. So in just two separate emails. Notes and then the links to all the videos, because there's 7 total videos. There's the live stream replay, and then there's the 6 segments. And we're about ready to record the first segment. That sets us up nicely. Let's get ready. So what I do is I switch on over here, and I get this ready, and this is going to be how I record the first segment. And as you know, these segments have music, so get ready for some excitement. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to act like a pro, because this is for YouTube now. This isn't for you common people here on DLive. DLive.tv/Freeqo. This is Talk Headlines for Freeqo Talks the News for April 9th, 2020, Thursday. Today's first story, Woke Corpse with Captive Workers from Hong Kong Free Press. Apple, BMW, Sony, Gap, Nike, Samsung, VW among brands accused of using forced Chinese labor. And this is an excerpt. China is transferring tens of thousands of... I can't let that go. I have to do it. China is transferring tens of thousands of Uyghur detainees. We really got to say that one quick, very, very carefully in America. Out of internment camps and into factories. That's especially with now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you got. You know what? If I remember it, I'll get to it. If not, forget it. We're gonna stick with the story. All right. Uyghur detainees out of internment camps and into factories that supply some of the world's leading brands. An Australian think tank said Monday. I gotta say, the Australians have really been overall picking up the rhetoric and the ratchet. Certain Australian press have been highly. I think Australians are a little bit ticked at the at the Chinese right now, and they should also feel a little threatened. This is one of the reasons why Australia has to have like a loving relationship with the United States, because if it doesn't, it's in trouble. There's only, what's the population of Australia? Just to give you a little bit of a geopolitical reality of what's going on here. Population, Australia, population, 24 million people in a land which is, what are they, the fourth or something like that? What are they, I forget what Australia nation size rank. I don't know. Australia, 10 largest countries in the world. Yep. Australia's number 6. So they're one of the hugest countries in the world with 25 million people. And China will eventually be wanting Australia, trust me. And it will be seriously repopulated. It won't be. The Australians won't exist. None of them. Not the what do you call them? The indigenous folks, which is just a way of saying the people who got there first, because none of us are indigenous, but whatever. So the indigenous folks, and then the white folk, and then all the folk that came in after. No. Y'all gonna go. And I think Australia deep down knows it. They got to feel that existential threatiality, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. So that's the background here. So that's why even I'll just say that you want to. You basically don't trust anyone. Don't trust, even if they fit your narrative. Don't trust them. So there's a part of me, Australian Strategic Policy Institute. I'm sure that they're all connected to the highest of the intelligences, whatever. What's propaganda? What's real? I have no idea. But this part is pretty much not in doubt, and this is very well known. It's extremely well known at this point how our American, and not just American, but our American, I'm going to zero in on American companies because they're doing a lot of damage right here and now to America in a lot of ways. These massive American companies with no allegiance to anyone, but I don't even know really. Not any nation state. Not really. Basically, they're out to the highest bidders. They're just mercenaries. They're almost nations in and of themselves. It's kind of where they're heading. But these companies, they have been preaching to the rest of us and using all of their market powers to fundamentally destroy the lives of hundreds of thousands of human beings right here in America, because they don't march into their particular very more and more narrowly defined high moral authoritarian constructs that they'll destroy you for if you just deviate only slightly. So in this case, we have, while they're doing that, they're doing business with China. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now in China. You don't separate the people from the government, from the party. They're all one. And Z is the manifestation of all of those things at one. He's the land as well. All of it is one. So it's in America. I can speak, and for Chinese Americans, they understand this too because they're Americans. So as an American, I look at the world, I guess, in a very different way, in which I do separate nations from states and states from parties and parties from people, so that in the end, now I'm not saying there aren't Americans who haven't fetishized people. Obama was fetishized. Trump is being fetishized. Bernie Sanders has been fetishized. There's all kinds of fetishizations. That's where fetishization is when you really do start to connect the individual with all of these things. Trump is the nation, he is the party, he is the people, he is the land. For some people, that's true. For some people, that was Bernie Sanders, and still is, I guess, for some. So China, though, in America, on the main, most of us Americans, we easily separate. So I can easily say and this is what China is trying to combat. They're trying to use our almost pathological fear of racism as a weapon to say, if you say anything bad about China, you're being racist. You're really going after the Chinese people. And it's working for most of the American media because they operate within those particular vehicles of power. So China is definitely using slave labor. What China does is documented not just by somebody like the Australian Strategic Policy, which may or may not be Australia's CIA, whatever, may be total propaganda. They're going to overhype everything, but there have been plenty of things that have come out through other means that didn't come through one of these more untrustworthy sources. So I read this and I have a fair level of confidence in the veracity of the claims being made, even by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. So they said the Chinese government has transferred 80,000 or more Uyghurs out of camps in Xinjiang and into factories across the country. Uyghurs are working in factories that are in supply chains of at least 83 well-known global brands in the technology, clothing, and automotive sectors. Some factories across China are using forced Uyghur labor under a state-sponsored labor transfer scheme that is tainting the global supply chain. The brands it adds includes Apple, GM, Gap, Hawaii. Is that South Korean? Nike, Samsung, Sony, and Volkswagen. Boy, I wanted to make sure it hit all the countries, but I'm really more interested in the American companies than I am anyone else. And it's a lot more than them. It's a lot more businesses. It's a lot more media, huge media. You have these giant media conglomerates that make the bulk of their money. They don't make it from news, folks. News is like what do you call that? A loss leader or whatever it's called. They're not making money off the news. They're making money off of in the media. What they're really making money off of is the blockbuster movies. Like that's the crowning glory for media. The blockbuster movies and all of the IPs and the properties that come from those IPs. So the movies, the toys, anything that they can create that comes from that, TV shows, whatever they can do. That's what the whole game is about. And the biggest market, or the huge, by far and away, the most amount of, you haven't even scratched the surface of how much money China can make for American companies, American large media corporations. And these companies are absolutely fully in bed with China. Now, for just to get access to that market, they're willing to bend the knee, and they do over and over and over again. So while they are doing that, selling out America, they're preaching to us about our moralities. trying to convince one half of the country that the other half of the country is literally subhuman. And if you even try to treat them like a human, then you are now going to be placed in the subhuman category with them, because then you're legitimizing their subhumanness. This is fundamentally which is at the heart of this, as I've called it, this authoritarian SJWism. So I want to say, and I try to remember to put these caveats out here when you're making statements about, like, when I speak of Christianity, I can speak broadly of Christianity. I can speak broadly of SJW as if you could think of it as, if you could think of Christianity as a school of thought rather than a religion, even though that's what it is. But just for the sake of this little mental exercise, so Christianity is a school of thought. SJW is a school of thought. There are various versions of SJW, various versions of Christianity. There is most assuredly many versions of authoritarian Christianity that is equally as dangerous and uses the same exact tactics, by the way. They use the same tactics. SJW authoritarianism. SJW authoritarianism takes an assumed moral construct that the SJW has, and they basically create a either or, a heaven or hell, with no compromise, and they use an appeal to morality to keep everyone in line. And that's what SJW authoritarianism is. The other extreme of SJW would be what's going on over in Rojava, in northern Syria, whatever you want to call it now. But it's essentially, most people still, the folks there have an identity around that word, Rojava. So I'll stick with Rojava. So what they're doing there, their version of SJW, very consensual, very different approach. It's like my version of Christianity. I'm not going around trying to cram my moral constructs on people and judging people because they don't agree with my moral constructs. I'm not doing it, and I don't really like when Christians do it. I don't like Christians really using any Christian morality when they step into the open market or into the government seat. When you're in now, if you're in a market that only serves Christians, that's different. But if you're in an open market, no, we don't bring our moral constructs and force them on others and judge people or serve them or not serve them based on our moral constructs that are, I guess, not part of whatever our overall community shares. And our overall community, I believe, should fundamentally be sharing the moral constructs around the Bill of Rights. Those are constructs that we can agree on in multiple religions, multiple versions of multiple religions, I should say. Multiple versions of multiple religions, multiple schools of thought, multiple atheisms, multiple conservatives, multiple progressives, multiple SJWs, multiple Christian conservatives, multiple folks that would come to agree to limit their approach to one another as far as assuming their morality should be other morality, to the Bill of Rights, to acknowledging we all have these bills of rights at all levels now. See, that's the big revelation for me. It's not just, it's fundamentally must be assumed that the market must basically behave like it's a government, because it de facto is. That's the bottom line, especially so long as you have any marketplace that has either, well, basically, if it has high degrees of regulation, especially when those regulations are almost always going to be significantly balanced in favor of those that have, allowing for the continued ever accelerating accumulation of wealth, of resources, which is real power to change lives with a word, change thousands of lives with a word. That's what we're dealing with. So these companies, while they're over here preaching to us moralities that they intend on forcing us in violation of these bills of rights, clearly and openly, are literally in bed with National Socialists, because that's what the Chinese Communist Party is. It's a National Socialist Party. The Chinese government is a right-wing government. It's fascist. That is the very definition of fascism. It is absolutely a fascist government. And our businesses, which tell us that they're against fascism over here. And hey, there is real fascist threats from the left and the right, really. There's multiple fascist threats. These companies, while they're preaching their wokeness and their, bash the fash, they're in deep. They're in deep with the devil, so to speak, the metaphorical devil. I'm not going to assign a moral judgment on China. It's just another nation state doing what nation states do. Just one of the forms of nation statism. That's all. Anyway, let's get to the next story. Beef in soy from labs. From Discover magazine. Lab-grown meat climbs to new heights on scaffolds of soy. I didn't write that headline, but that is really just wonderful. That's a wonderful headline. I wonder if the person who wrote that had fun writing that headline. I would have. Here's the excerpt from it. Growing meat without animals may one day become easier using scaffolds made of soy, a new study finds. Biomedical engineer Shulamit Levenberg at the Technion Israel Institute of Technology in Haifa and her colleagues experimented with a 3D scaffold made from textured soy protein, an inexpensive, edible byproduct of soybean oil processing that was invented in the 60s. Wow, old invention, relatively speaking. This spongy material is often an ingredient in meat substitutes due to its fibrous meat-like texture and high protein content, and the researchers reasoned that its porous nature could help it provide anchor points on which cells could attach and proliferate. Using soy as a scaffold is a novelty, said tissue engineer Mark Post, chair of physiology at Maastricht University in the Netherlands, who did not take part in this research. Come on, man. I get it. Okay. Its use is good from the perspective that the whole purpose of cultured meat is to use as few animal-based materials as possible. The fact that it's a food-grade material is also good from a regulatory perspective. He said regulatory. Or did I mean in a scientific way, not a legal way? Maybe I'm missing that point. I'm a dunder. That's probably it. Post made the world's first lab-grown hamburger in 2013 at a cost of £250,000, or about $280,000. And he is chief scientific officer of the Dutch cultured meat startup Mosa Meat. So he's the real deal. Okay, so even though he wasn't in, I get why. Never mind. All right, I get why you quoted him. Maybe you could have led with. No, you didn't need to lead with that. That was fine. You guys did good. This was pretty good. Yeah, Discover magazine. I like Discover magazine. So there you go, and I'm all for it. I'm totally 100% for if we can find a uses. If I say again, I'm going to bash my own head in with my metaphorical hammer. That means no blood will be drawn, no bruising, no actual physical harm will come upon me. Anyway, I am all for the least amount of animals dying. Although it does also mean, on the flip side of that, it also means less of them. Because if we don't need them, we won't be letting them run the countryside and multiplying. We're not going to have herds of cows roaming through our hills. It's just not going to happen, sons and daughters and all those people in between. No, it's not going to happen. Sorry. So that's one side. What I like about it, though, is deal with it as you will. If you're cool with there just being a lot less cows, and then less cows are getting, because basically if you're going to be a cow, you're going to be milking or you're going to be dying. You're just not going. Cows will not function in the natural world for any period of time. It doesn't fit. It's not. They're not going to fit in. I'm telling you, you're not going to have herds of cattle that are going to do anything but get et real quick by all kinds of beasts and ghoulies. Ain't even. They don't exist if we don't exist. That's the one thing. That's part of the conversation. Y'all don't understand. You know, you vegans, what you should be thinking about is if we could get to a state where like what maybe 1 in 10 cows die, or 1 in 10 cows are needed for milking. 1 in 10 beef boys get slaughtered. So there's like a decimation, not a full slaughter, not a full. The rest of them though, they get to. You're going to take care of the rest. So it's kind of a pledge. We're gonna let 90% of this species have a good life, but 10% is going to have to still give it up. It'll be, maybe you can do something like that. That might be the compromise. But I tell you one thing, it's still, even outside of totally replacing animals, which remember, if you replace them, you're gone. Cows don't exist. Pigs don't exist. No way people are going to allow pigs to get any kind of numbers out in the wild. That would be very bad for us. That'd be very bad. So we wouldn't let that happen. Not willingly. So cows wouldn't exist. Pigs wouldn't exist. Well, they would exist about like they do now out in the wild. No more than that. That'd be the end of that. But this is really good. If you have a kind of, in the Coronavilles, you're thinking about the sieges, having your citadels. If you could have your own, at the pores, if we pores could have our own citadels, our own places where we were kings and queens, so to speak, where if we said no, you pretty much had to say, well, okay, like you're definitely going to need our consent. That's kind of like what you want. So in those situations, if you had the capacity to grow your own meat, to cut down on your overall cost, and I mean, if you get it to the point where it's cost effective, not if you're paying 250 million thousand pounds for a hamburger, that's probably not cost effective. But just think futurely, this thing gets down to the point where you could produce a burger for $1. Only costs you $1. That's all it'll cost. You get it down to that level, then you got yourself, you could really store up on stuff and make things as you need it. Have fresh meat. That's nice. That's what you want. If they could pull it off, if it really became fresh meat. This is our last headline: a cheap alternative to ventilators, and hospitals already have them from Futurity. Anesthesia machines can become Coronaville ventilators. Excerpt: as Coronaville cases continue to rise, concern at hospitals about a shortage of personal protective equipment and ventilators that help critically ill patients breathe is on the rise. Michael McLaughlin, an assistant professor and assistant program director of the Rutgers University Nurse Anesthesia Program, has been on the forefront or on the front lines of the COVID-19 crisis and intubates many Coronaville patients. How quickly and easily can an anesthesia machine be converted to a ventilator? Anesthesia machines can be converted to ventilators in a matter of minutes with a few simple modifications, such as the addition of a heat and humidity exchange filter to the breathing circuit and the removal of the anesthetic gas vaporizers. That's so stupid. Of course that's that. I can't believe he's the first guy to say this, because I thought of that like a few weeks ago. I thought everybody knew that. Nah, I didn't. I don't even understand what that means. But apparently that's what it means. That's what it means. It means that can get this converted, or this is the conversion. I'm not sure what this picture is. So it's a cheap alternative. So this just is one example. This is a little kind of with shade tree mechanic kind of solution. That kind of thing. Shade tree mechanic in it. I think that's probably a good phrase that I could choose there that's apropos, that will keep me from getting canceled. There's other terms that are used that are not very flattering to a number of cultures, actually, and a number of race groups as well. There's a number of these colloquialisms. So that's good news. That's a good way to leave the headlines. That's what we're going to do. Coming up next, if you stay tuned, if you're getting this on YouTube, you should see this. This is the 4 o'clock show. So you'll see this at 5 p.m. You'll see the talk feature coming up next. And for the live stream, I am just continuing, because that's what I do. I continue no matter what. I tried to adjust my seat here, and I'm not sure I like it here. So I'm going to have to snip my way back up. All right. All right. You gotta mix things up. Y'all that have back pains and all that kind of stuff, y'all know what I'm saying. You know what? I didn't change this one. When you got those issues, you know you got to switch things up. You got to change things, give things a rest. Yeah, these old bones, they can't rest in any one place for too long before they start to freak out and they start good. Never mind. I don't want to. I was going to say something, but it was rude, and I'm trying not to be. See, I'm not freaking out. I'm not freaking out. I have not said one expletive so far. I've not made one crude, vulgar joke so far. I've came close. I approached that place, but I did not actually. I was going to say enter. I did not enter. This is not planned. None of this is planned, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to our next segment here. I'll get you up here. There you go. All right, this is the talk feature for Freeqo Talks the News for Thursday, April 9th, 2020, and I am Freeqo. Our talk feature here is Coronaville Detante for Z and the Donald. Isn't that a lovely? Look at this, guys. Look at this. Look at the flags together. Look at them all. Look at them all. Yeah. Look at Donnie up there. If you're, you can see there's this little Donnie man. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. Did you know that I made those flags? Yes, my company. You're very, very good, very good, very, 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 very good work. Really excellent work. Chairman C. Oh, I know. You don't like being called that, but that's what you are. Chairman C. Yeah, he likes to kill people. He's very good at it. Very, very good. I call him Murder Z. Murder Z. Yes, I literally call him that to his face. Yeah. I mean, that's the time for the Donald to be the Donald. That's the time for the Donald to be the Donald. This guy trips me out, though, the Donald, on a little side note here. There are times when he speaks, it's like, wow, this guy really, he's sharp. He is sharp. He's also incredibly stupid. He is both of those things. That's the thing. He is equally dumb and smart. He is brilliant. He's like an idiot savant or something. There's like these areas in life in which this man is he's ruthless. He's a genius. And sometimes especially when he's hammering the press. Oh, I love that. Go Donnie, go Donnie, go press, go. I'm Barstool Sports Reference. I shouldn't have done that. I apologize. But anyway, go press, go. And then he'd say something stupid like, I understood what he was doing when he was saying China virus. But come on. I mean, you could do that in a number of ways. You could say, listen, I just want China to know, that whole threat about like us not calling it the China virus. Listen, we're not going to call it the China virus, but not because of you pinhead. We will not be threatened by you little Winnie the Pooh dwarf man. Murder Z. We will not be. No, I don't know. I don't really care. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking little Winnie the Pooh murder Z. No, not a worry. I'm not going to say it. You know why I'm not going to say it? Because I'm a decent person. Because we have Chinese Americans. And I don't want Americans thinking the Chinese Americans are somehow evil. Chinese Americans are awesome. And they are. We need our Chinese Americans. Trust me. Well, we need all of our Americans. We really do. We really, that's the thing. America really needs all our Americans. That's the fundamental thing. But we don't need Murder Z. Don't need him. You can stay where you're at. And I don't know what we can do to free the Chinese people from your poo-poo tyranny. Your poo-poo tyranny. Poo-poo tyranny. Poo-poo tyranny. This could literally get me killed if I was in China. Poo-poo tyranny. If I was in China, listen, watch, I'm going to do this to Donald Trump right today. Hey, hi, I'm not all here. Yes, my hair is a transplant. Yes, transplant. Yes, apparently, these are all blades of fiber optic steel that gets thrust into my skull, and each blade goes in about 6 inches. I feel better. I feel great. What's that smell? Oh, that's not a smell. Am I in a car now? Oh my gosh, I sound like Joe Biden. Oh no, I sound like Joe Biden. See, I can do that. Donnie Boy's not going to do crap to me. The government isn't monitoring me. They haven't tracked me. I haven't had to use an ID system to even log on to the internet in the first place so the government knows that I'm on the internet right now, Donnie's not giving a crap. Chairman Z, look. Hey, we need to poo. To poo. Uncle would be here. Uncle, the police. And that would get me killed, probably. Oh, you like making fun of our dear leader? You like making fun of our dear leader? No, we will not have that. No, we are the Han race, the superior race. That's Z. That's who he is. So this is the context of this. Coronaville detente for Z and the Donald. After each side probed the other in ways that few of us can hardly imagine, and I don't mean that. Like, what's going on in the world? Like, I'm sure there's tons of stuff. There's just what's really going on in all our little vassal states and all our little what's going on in Venezuela. That's one of the areas in which China and the U.S. are getting people killed. Chinese vassals, American vassals, get people killed. Bad stuff happened. Bad stuff. And I guess after a few rounds of that, the competing nation states, in this case the United States and China, determined that at this time neither was critically vulnerable, and in the end, an unstable other could bring the other down with them during the time of Coronaville. That's my read of the news, that China and the U.S. have come to some form of truce regarding their rhetoric, their actions, their fake news assaults on each other, and yes, we fake news assault them too. It's definitely a two-way street. There's no morally better people in this affair per se. For me, I would side with the Americans because of some fundamental differences that I'm kind of hinted at in the earlier in the headline segment. So if you're watching this on the YouTubes, go back and find the headline segment where you'll see something about that. But as nation states are wont to do, the probing for expansion is almost constant, and Coronaville creates new dangers, but also new opportunities. Wherever something collapses, something looks to put itself into it. That's why you're going to be seeing all these businesses that are going to go out of business and then get bought up. Their assets, their brands, their IPs, whatever, they'll be bought up, and all of these mega conglomerations of things will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of these competing interests are now no longer competing interests, but they're one empire under one head. Well, competing empires then, but still, that's where we're at, and we're just accelerating the process in Coronaville. And that's what happens with nation states. They're looking, the ones that think that they can either survive, or all you have to do is be perceived as being the least hit, the most secure, especially if the others around you are less stable, for you to be able to walk in with your gold and whatever you've got to throw down on the table, and with contracts that people sign that 3 years from now gives you another port that you own. You literally own land. You literally own ports. You literally are buying an empire of ports across the Mediterranean Sea. Like, that's what China's doing. That's what you do, though. That's what you do. When you can, you do. When you can't, you find a moral construct that justifies why you're restraining your awesomeness from doing it. So I don't blame China. They're just doing what nation states do. But being an American, I connect their rise to my significant reduction in quality of life. So I am definitely on the side of America for very personal and self-serving reasons. As most basically, if you live in America and you plan on living here the rest of your life, you need to be on America's side. But in America, I can say I'm on America's side. I'm not necessarily for Trump, but I am on America's side. I'm not necessarily for the government, but I'm on America's side. America, the land, whatever manifestation of power we have that will take on the responsibility of at least being a decent steward in terms of defending America from real foreign threats. Yes, then I'm on America's side. So here's an excerpt from the article here from, I think this is, didn't do the citing for the article. That bothers me. Hold on. Let's get here. Okay, NDTV. I want to make sure. I like to source, make sure you give the credit. So here's the excerpt. The United States and China have reached a truce in a vitriolic feud over the Coronaville pandemic, with the two powers each seeing at least a tactical interest in cooling down. I think it's more like, I guess you could say, but I think it's more like they can't take full advantage of the other. President Donald Trump, hardly known for the delicacy of his word choices, yep, and I like that about him, has dropped his provocative term Chinese virus and held back from criticizing Beijing's response since a telephone call on March 26 U.S. time. Since then, he said plenty, but he has kind of walked the line in terms of, yeah, I say that he's reeled it back, but he's still been pretty strong. And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who so insisted on saying Wuhan virus that the group of 7 foreign ministers could not issue a joint statement, has been talking of cooperation. Well, we know that this is a global pandemic and this is a time for every country to work together to resolve that, Pompeo told reporters Tuesday, which is a big old nothing quote. Of course, the reality of power is that China and America, they don't have a distinctive advantage. And in the end, China, now when America comes in and they make their gazillions of dollars off of their products, their services, their films, their media and all that, their mobile games, China makes most of that money. So China's still going to make beaucoup money. That's why they need America. In the end, they still need. But they need an America that has been more pacified, more willing for all of the markets even to toe the Chinese Communist Party line. And we literally have our NBA bent the knee to China, to the Chinese Communist Party specifically. Because China is the Chinese Communist Party. Chairman Xi is China. China is the Communist Party. Now, I separate the people because China is not one whole voice. I would imagine he may be very well, maybe 70% of Chinese are, as far as they understand or imagine, they are consensual participants in this tyrannical fascist regime, including all of the Han Chinese supremacist stuff. It may be as high as 70%. I don't know. I would wager, though, that it's at the very least 30%. 30% of China. I'll say 30% of Han Chinese. And Han China is 90% of China. And that means that Han China is maybe about a billion of the 1.3, whatever it is. Just say billion. I don't want to do the math. A billion people. So out of a billion people, 300 million, that's the size, that's the population of the United States of America. So you just think to yourselves, if you could get 300 people in China that are 300 million people in China in some way to be able to mutually share their lives and how manufacture, education, healthcare, whatever, if they could find a way to network to be able to do that, to live out the life of individuals with assumed stewardship over their own lives, like that type of life that many of these folks would much rather prefer and are trying in all the ways that they can to live. And that's many of those folks end up over here, are Chinese Americans. And we're very happy to have them and would love to have more. I'd love to have more. I'd love the United States of America if we could find the right people. And the right people are not a race or an ethnicity or a nation state or from any nation or not nation. The people that you want are people that fundamentally commit to living out a Bill of Rights valued life and to respect the bills of rights of others. Those are what Americans are. That's my definition of American. So, to the degree that America comes closer and closer to actually being limited in all of its levels of governance, including its market governance, committed to living out those bills of rights amongst us, then that makes me more and more inclined to more openly and aggressively support all that America does. But until then, I got tons of problems with how America does things. So I'm still siding with America, and I just want to say this story, read between the lines, this story is not about people coming to, well, it is a pragmatic decision, but it's a decision that, first off, that nobody is going to fully honor. They're still going to be looking. They're still going to be doing just more nuanced probes, more soft power type probes. But whenever and if they find any blood in the water, they'll pounce. So this is really a detente. This is just a little allowing each side, because both sides needs it, some face, so that they don't have to be mean to the other side right now. That's all it is. All right. I think that's where I'm going to end this segment. Coming up next, this is the 5 o'clock show. Coming up next is the 6 o'clock show for those watching on YouTube. And that'll be Talk Focus, where we're going to talk about, well, our first story is going to be machine learning your way to drug overdose news. And for my live stream audience, of course, that's not even an issue, folks. We're not even worried about that. That is that, because we're still going on, man. We are going on. We're going to what will end up being the last segment of this half of the show, because then I get to take a little break, rest my voice and all that, and we'll see what happens on the other side. But let's get ready for the Talk Focus now. All right, this is Talk Focus for Freeqo Talks the News for Thursday, April 9th, 2020, and I am Freeqo. Our first story here for Talk Focus is machine learning your way to drug overdose news. CNN is buying a new tool to help them design the type of news that can only be compared to massive amounts, always more massive amounts of drugs to get the same level of high you could get before with less. This, in essence, is what has been happening to our news in general across most platforms, be it independent or corporate state media. In part, it's because of this, of using tools to help you build drug overdoses in the minds of your audience, not serving self-stewarded folks who can be trusted to form their own opinions based on your efforts to show them the unbiased truth. So here's the excerpt from Variety. CNN buys personalized startup Canopy for digital news platform. This acquisition enables us to light up in a single transaction a proven, best-in-class team whose deep knowledge and skill sets would have taken many months or even years to assemble, CNN EVP and Chief Digital Officer Andrew Morse said in announcing the deal. It says pictured above, but there's no picture above. That's a lie. That's not a lie. It's just, yeah. Canopy's culture of fast cycle, iterative software and product development will enable us to more rapidly realize our ambitions and deliver against our goals. Realize our ambitions. To rule your mind. No, I'm sorry. To serve our community by filling them with hate bombs every single minute of every day. Hate, 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 hate. Fear, 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 fear. Yeah. Canopy uses a combination of human editors and machine learning to surface content people are most likely to be interested in. Yeah. Dopamine, baby. Where's the dopers? Dopers. Ooh, there's some fat dopers there. Look at this. Look. Donald Trump literally made billions of dollars selling hydrochloroquine to the Russians in a deal before he became president. Oh, that's great. Oh, look, that's peaking. That's gonna look. All the machines are telling us that's gonna win. Hey, I'm new here. I got a question. Yeah. What do you want, kid? Wait. Why are you interrupting us? This isn't your time to speak. I just okay. Is it true? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Hold on. Enter truth. Truth into the. Nope. It doesn't sell, kid. Doesn't sell. Sorry. Anyway, let's get back to the story. Kid, you're fired. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. I mean, that was a hyperbolic example, but with the acquisition, the top app will be phased out. CNN said, the Topic app. Oh, that's what they use now. There has never been a more crucial time to help people discover trusted Oh my gosh, the CNN representative said trusted sources. Oh my gosh. There are no trusted sources. I've already told you that. Everybody's bought and paid for or agenda driven or whatever. Everybody's essentially bought and paid for. So there are no trusted sources. The best that you could do is look at a whole bunch of sources in between them. And then also you have to, if you know propaganda, if you understand propaganda, you can actually learn real news from propaganda. You just got to know how to read the news. So I can read Russian press and learn stuff about the Russians that they wouldn't necessarily want me to know or understand. I know people. I've known people personally that have worked in intelligence and have been able to use a nation state's propaganda to make some real deep geopolitical analysis from that was much more revealing than the propagandists would have ever wanted it to be. And so I'm just going to tell you, it's all propaganda, just about all of it. And propaganda is, to me, the difference is this. Propaganda is when you are willing to use deception, when you are willing to use some form of deception, when you are willing to speak in generalities using highly emotional terminologies that are intended to strongly frame the whole context of the argument before it ever happens. That's propaganda. When you're using emotional tactics, basically these are deceptive tools. They're meant to keep you from thinking clearly about what someone is really saying, and they're meant to keep you from really knowing about what is really going on. The end goal is not to give you the facts and to let you form an opinion. They're not treating you like a consensual partner. The end goal is to assure that you don't think dangerous thoughts. And dangerous thoughts that's subjective. Dangerous thoughts are just thoughts that the other side perceives as being a risk to them. And some thoughts, some of us would find more universally dangerous than others. Their dangerous thoughts would be someone who is against abortion. That's a dangerous thought. We have to make sure that when we're putting things out that we're not reinforcing the constructs that lead people to believe that. We must form constructs for them that assure that they don't believe that. That's deception, that's fraud. That's authoritarian SJWism at its heart. SJWism without authoritarian is, I want to talk to you, I'll teach you, I'll show you my methodologies, and just like I would do if you want to learn my Christian ways, my Christian beliefs. Try them out and live them as your lifestyle. Try out the SJW standards. Live them out as your lifestyle. Some people have found a lot of fruit there. I wouldn't deny them that. But that's very different than when you take it to the levels where you're willing to use these types of tactics to manipulate human beings to believing what you want them to believe. You can tell yourself whatever you want. You can actually imagine, if you could, that you actually do have some sort of inside knowledge about the true way of all ways, that we should all be following the true moral purity standards that we must follow to assure that we all live the perfect lives of what it means to be human, and will define for you what it means to be human. Whatever you think man is, nope, that's not the way it is. It's this way. That other way, that's evil. whatever you think woman is, no, it's not that way. Those are all evil. It's all evil. This is the way it is. This is whatever you think of family. No, not that. No, whatever you think of religion, whatever you think of free speech, none of that. No. It's all this. And if you disagree with us, then there's just you're literally evil. That's why it is that we can use deception, because you're so stupid. You're so subhuman. The most merciful thing we can do is to trick you into being a good person. That's what CNN does. That's what Fox does. That's what they all do. So this is an example where the tool itself can be highly effective. Wonderful tool. I wish I had this tool. I would use the crap out of this tool. But they're going to use the tool, and they're going to assign it a value that's going to seek those dopamines. It's going to seek helping them learn more effectively how to manipulate you. That's where we're at. And that, my friends, is not a good place to be. All right, we got our last story of this half of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, you can watch the full replay on dlive.tv. Sometimes it's broken up into weird segments, I think, but you can watch them all in order. Your own digital bug army could deliver the goods with military precision. Biohybrid robots are the wave of the future. The next big, holy heck, we's gonna live forever breakthrough that has been in the works for a few years now. These robot big thingies, bio thingies, are equipped to do whatever we need them to do to get to those hard to reach, hard to see places that currently evades the penetration of therapeutic drugs and whatnots to clear up the crap inside us. You know, to kill the things that kill us. Soon, we will get an injection of robots that will have the injections of drugs we need delivered precisely, strategically, right in the face of the offending part that needs the drugs to stop from hurting us. Kill them. Kill them. Kill them all. That's what you want. That's the kind of crew you want riding in you when it comes to tracking down whatever it is that's killing you. Just as long as they got, no casualty, no civilian casualties, no collateral damages, that could be bad. But there won't be, because there'll be like precisions. There'll be like 1991 Gulf War level precision. Remember that? Like, look at this. We're going to drop this bomb right on this dude's butt while he's bending over. Look at this. Dude, we did that. Remember that? I was like, wow. 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 All right. From Science Daily. Personalized microbots swim through biological barriers, deliver drugs to cells. Excerpt. Tiny biohybrid robots on the micrometer scale can swim through the body and deliver drugs to tumors or provide other cargo. Wait a second. Did you catch that? Didn't say swim through the blood. It said swim through the body. They're not even, where they're going, they don't need roads. That is nice. Wow. Okay, so the natural environmental sensing tendencies of bacteria mean they can navigate towards certain chemicals or be remotely controlled using magnetic or sound signals. To be successful, these biological robots must consist of materials that can pass clearance through the body's immune response. They also have to be able to swim quickly through viscous environments and penetrate tissue cells to deliver cargo. In a paper published this week in APL Bioengineering from AIP Publishing, researchers fabricated biohybrid bacterial microswimmers by combining a genetically engineered E. coli MG1655 substrain and nanoerythrosomes. Hold on, I'm gonna be silent and think of this in my head because it seems to work better when I do that. Nanoerythrosomes, small structures made from red blood cells. This work is an important stepping stone in our overarching goal of developing and deploying biohybrid microbots for therapeutic cargo delivery, Arthur Mitten City said. If you decrease the size of red blood cells to nanoscale and functionalize the body of the bacteria, you could obtain additional superior properties that will be crucial in the translation of the medical microbotics to clinics. So that is custom delivery. That is absolute custom delivery. Though imagine knowing that you have these things inside you that somebody is controlling with a magnet. That would be weird. You're gonna look at that person and you're like, I feel such love for you right now. I feel like I really like you and I really value you. You're great. I hope that you feel the same way about me. Really hope that you feel the same way about me. Because, that magnet thing you're holding. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want to be friends with that guy or gal or they, whatever. You want to be friends with that human being, that individual. Until the magnets are over. Then you want to beat the crap out of them. Unless, of course, they really were doing God's work, so to speak. Alrighty then. Well, that's going to be the end of this segment. That is the focus segment. And we're going to take a break. If you're watching the video, be sure you stay tuned because the 7 p.m. show is coming up, and that'll be the news poem. And the news poem is going to be Not Pondering, Deliberating on the Code, a public school song. That'll be our news poem. So stay tuned. And for our peanut crunching crowd here, that is the people on the live stream, the people who deigned themselves to watch this live stream, which is a lot of people. There's no one watching. Yeah. Thank you for hanging in there. I'm going to go on a break here. I'll be back in about 5 minutes or less. And while I am gone, I will leave you with some entertainment here. Because you have to be entertained, otherwise you'll never stay. And gosh, you have to stay because the news poem's on the other side.
Love overwhelmed me. 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 Love overwhel Love overwhelmed me. 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 Love overwhelmed me.
Whoa, I guessed wrong. I was not ready for that, ladies and gentlemen. I was thinking I had a little bit longer than that. I miscalculated, but nevertheless, fear not. I am still here. I'm doing the work that I am required to do. This is how I earn my existence, you know. I'm not really earning any existence here. All right, so I am not situated right. Hold on. All right. Oh, man. I must not have adjusted this camera. I thought I adjusted all these cameras, but I did not. That is not good. Come on, face cam. You're not where you should be. There you go. There you go. There you go. There. There. See, that's better. That's much better, ladies and gentlemen. We do not need to tire ourselves with the inordinately misplaced cameras throughout this show. We can see past that. We can see into the great power and glory that is Freeqo Talks the News. And on that note, we're gonna get right back into the show. So that means that we're going to do our little warning. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Some of y'all need this.
Warning, the material you're about to be listened to is foreign to the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. That is always the plan. I endeavor to talk about the news without freaking out. Now, this story is going to be a little bit difficult for me not to do that, but I feel like I've got a good bearing on it, and I will manage it just fine. So I am going to transfer on over to the next segment of the show. Let me get set to record here. And this is the news poem for Freeqo Talks the News for April 9th, 2020, Thursday. I am Freeqo. And the news poem here, first off, this picture that I've selected to use here, this is the Prussian army in Chile. The Prussian army in Chile. So just showing that, it's important. They identify as Prussian. Prussian is, originally it was primarily German, but now Prussian, there are Prussians from multiple ethnicities around the world that self-identify as Prussians. And these are Prussians. It's important. It's important. That's why I picked that story, or that image for this story. Not pondering, deliberating on the code, a public school song. News poem. In a shock to almost no one who has paid any attention to our American public school system over the past 10 years, a new study suggests that children are not being prepared to live. They're being prepared to pass tests. And the skill sets that reward test takers are not the same that get rewarded by daily living on the ground level type stuff. A reality more and more alien to these public schools. News first, poem follows. From phys.org. Government policies push schools to prioritize creating better test takers over better people. Excerpt. Personal growth and job skills have taken a backseat to an increased focus on standardized test scores in schools across the nation, according to a new University at Buffalo-led research. The study, which analyzed the educational goals of principals at thousands of public, private, and charter schools over 2 decades, found the shift in priorities is most pronounced in public schools. Well, because they're incentivized. Everything about how they make money is pinged to the test results. The change in educational goals can be traced to the rise in test-based school accountability policies in the 90s, which culminated with the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. That was a pretty progressive act. And I don't mean progressive in any kind of good sense. I mean in the George Bush Progressive Act. Same kind of progressives of Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. That type of progressive. Corpo Stato kind of progressive. So it culminated with the No Child Left Behind Act that mandated statewide testing in the United States, according to the research. The balanced development of both academic and soft skills is crucial, not only for well-rounded child development in schools, but also for careers and life success, said Jae-kyung Lee, Ph.D., lead researcher and professor of learning and instruction in the UB Graduate School of Education. Now, I'm going to check out you. My narrative, it would be very convenient if you were an actual Chinese American. That would be so wonderful. Please be a Chinese American. Please be a Chinese American, please. Please. Okay. University of Buffalo. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. He's a professor, counseling, a professor and former dean of the Graduate School of Education at the University of Buffalo, a fellow of the prestigious American Research Group. Lee is an internationally recognized leader. Okay, he's a PhD, big Nathan Fellow, Rockefeller Institute, Center for Advanced Study, all kinds of stuff. Okay, education and training. Okay, we're not going to tell you what his ethnicity is. Okay. I mean, I don't really care generally, even care, but in this case, dang it. All right, I'll just leave it at that. Never mind. Dang it. Couldn't you just say like something to like, he won the Chinese American something or other. His parents were from China. Something. He loves his Chinese culture. Something. Come on. Alrighty. Well, anyway. It would have been great, because then it would be great if it was a Chinese American, so that you can break the stereotype of the Chinese Communist Party isn't China. Well, it is orthodoxy wise, and the government will beat you if you say otherwise, but it's not in actuality. This isn't going to happen now, though. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't going to happen. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to let this happen. Okay, nobody can hear you, but I am literally live streaming a show right now. Well, how may I help you? This is my friend that I will remain anonymous. Go ahead, friend, that I will remain anonymous. Okay, I don't know if I want to repeat. Where at? Okay. Is it like Century Arms or Atlantic Firearms? Oh, okay. All right. I'm in the middle of about ready to read a poem, actually. So, yeah, I'll share that with you later because I record the segments. You'll see this in the segment that I send you. You'll literally be everybody. He's literally in the segment that I'm going to send him later. Freaky. His other comment was very political. So he'll text me and he wants me to call him back when I can. I'm going to tell everybody about the gun, though. All right. All right. Goodbye. So he's going to send me the link. I don't know the name of the company, but what he was telling me was that there's a company that you can get AR-10s for $800. You want an AR-10 if you can get it. If you can get it, an AR-10 is it's chambered in .308. Yeah, so it's a much more serious caliber. It's definitely a heavy hitter, and also it has a lot longer range. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a sniper rifle, but you have a much longer range, effective range with it. So it's big. It's also a good object destroyer, whatever they call that. It could destroy objects. It could break through doors and do things. It could break through concrete pretty easily. It could do stuff. It could, if you need just to be able to clear out something, yeah, it can do that. So $800 is incredible. I can't remember when you couldn't get an AR-10 in less than $1,200, $1,500 out of my price range. But this is interesting. This is very interesting, and it's not really relevant to this, but I like having it in here because that's part of Freeqo. Like I said, sometimes Freeqo is I poured something hot on my lap. This is one of those I poured something hot on my lap kind of moments. All right. Increasing concerns about poor students' performance in the United States led states to adopt high-stakes testing policies, said Lee. However, working under the constraints of limited resources, complex power dynamics, and extremely imposed policies, school principals are often faced with challenges in prioritizing educational goals. And then they add on top of it, they also want you to be their psychologist, they want you to be their nutrition, their spiritual guide. They want you to be everything. And they're giving you more and more tasks that you have to do. And you're trying to cram it all in, but you get none of it. All you get is a jammed mess. There are some kids that, for various reasons, have really wonderful experiences in public schools, and I wouldn't take that away from any of them. But on the main, most human beings, when they talk about schools, it's almost like you're talking about prison time because it's very similar to prison time. But I'm not going to get into all that. I've already digressed enough. I have spent 9 minutes before I've even gotten to the poem, but that's the way it rolls. That's the way these news poems roll. Remember, it's news and poem, news poem. And then the poem itself is, well, I'm going to say, I haven't done it yet, but there may come a time when I will write a poem, a news poem, that while it may be inspired by the news story, it might end up not even being about it. So that hasn't happened yet, but I'll allow that to happen if it ever does. It's been challenging writing these news poems every day because I haven't written poetry consistently in maybe 20 years. So it's a weird new experience for me. I mean, I've written thousands of poems. I've literally wrote 10 poems a day. I did this religiously, 10 poems a day for 3 years straight, just so that I could hit that level. Somebody said you have to write 10,000 poems to be able to really begin to write poetry well. And so I wrote 10,000 poems in 3 years. And unfortunately, so much of it is gone. Probably for the good, though, because most of it was crap. But it was just... So I did that. So I've written poems. I've written some poetries, so I'm back in it. So here's the news poem. All right. News poem. Not pondering, deliberating on the code, a public school song. The doctor says march. March! The feet dance to the tangle of words they pronounce. Left, right, walk in a tight line. Before you imagine yourself in a bubble, remember, you're on the outside. You're the bubbler, not the bubbly. As in, the one being bubbled. That's your job. Or so you imagine, or so you've been told. The feet are attired in manners that require great deliberation. Pondering. No. No. Not pondering. Deliberating. Following the codes. 20 steps to get to the one. Undoing the heuristic. Making all thought trace to the code. This is what you've done. You've invaded the heuristics of the sons and daughters and days across the land. A fingerprint is laced on every forehead. Big, fat finger. Marked for your assigned boxes. The pedigrees, the assumed limits and potentials. True story. My daughter was evaluated to determine her place in the engineering process. They asked her questions she had no idea were weighted. And they asked her. They didn't write it down. They asked her. They asked. And they demanded an answer in a time setting. She froze like a bunny. She froze like a stone in the deep of the Arctic Ocean. The data was set for the rest of her life. Low-level manager, not in on the design. And so it goes. Not pondering, deliberating on the code. The code. Deliberating on the code. Whew. All right. That was fun. I enjoyed reading that one. And that was a true story, by the way, that I read earlier. My daughter was evaluated to determine her place, and she was given an IQ test orally at the age of 8, and she felt like she wanted to be in this Pegasus program because her 3 friends all got in the Pegasus program and she didn't, and she wanted a retest. And I knew that that she had a right to get a written test if she wasn't satisfied. And so I arranged a meeting to talk to them about my daughter possibly getting a retest. Now, I told her, by the way, when she told me about this, I said, well, that's just idiotic. That's not a way to, you don't do an oral test on an 8-year-old and expect that you're going to get an actual full measure of that child's cognizant abilities. You may very well have factors which could significantly alter her performance at that moment in time. And it's just not a way, especially when you use it to set someone in a certain place. Because if you're in the, well, let me explain briefly the Prussian model. The Prussian model is to, through the school system, the government school system, you identify amongst the poors. This is significantly and foremost amongst the poors, because as you get up the ladder of significance, as you get closer to the citadelians, it really is what it is. It's not class, it's not race, it's basically the closer you are to the citadelians, and there's various reasons for you to be closer or further away. But if you are on the outskirts of that, if you're amongst the poors with no real access to citadelian power, directly or indirectly, then the idea is to identify amongst you who they could find useful, because they recognize they need to have a certain amount of churn in the system. So there needs to be certain amount of new blood that comes into the system, and they got to be able to identify it. And they use the school system in the beginning to try to identify the ones that they deem to be people that could possibly be more in on it, or at least have the capacity to grow into that role. And then they set them on the schools, the type of education that you get in the Prussian school model, which is the same as the American now, what we got it from the Prussians. If you are at the highest levels, where for whatever reason, whether because you're a family or because you have amongst the poor, you have some capacities that they value, then you are given an education that trains you to be a steward of yourself. Now they do that within the context of a steward of yourself in service to your nation, but there's still tremendous amounts of steward of yourself built in, as in they want you to understand on your own. They're not filling you with facts and figures that you memorize. They're leading you towards a path where you are more discovering on your own. They're giving you more of a classical, traditional education that the wealthy have always given their children. Much more self-discovery type of education systems on the main, because they're teaching people to be stewards, commanders. But they're teaching them other things as well. But anyway, I'm not going to go down that road. That's complicated. So they identified my daughter as being basically a tier below. She was in pretty much all the same classes as all the other kids that were in the Pegasus program, but she wasn't in the Pegasus program because they deemed her a low manager in essence, based on this test. Now I didn't really care what their assessment was. It didn't bother me. I don't necessarily need my daughter to be the most intelligent. I don't think intelligence in and of itself is the best value to have as a human being. So I'm not necessarily wanting her to be or not wanting her to be intelligent. But she wanted in the program, and so this is why I asked for this meeting. And in this meeting, the woman says, honestly, I can tell you that these tests are 90 whatever percent, 97%, some bull crap thing that I have no idea where she threw it out of. And at that time, I was really like making an effort, because I know that I'm a bit of a wild person, and I'm wild only because I guess you could say because just because of my circumstances, I don't really see the world. I'm not really in the normal constructs. I'll just say that in so many ways that I couldn't even begin to tell you right now. So I kind of clash with the normal constructs. And so I'm doing my best here to be a civil father, because I want to make life easy for my daughter. Because if they don't like me, I know they'll do stuff. People do stuff. I know it's a very authoritarian system, and at that time, I certainly was aware to a certain degree of the authoritarian nature of the system. But I've learned tremendously much more afterwards that I would have maybe done things a lot differently. But I was calm, cool, and collected, and I was like, well, whatever that.